Love you, Linda. Love
In the courthouse the other day, in the hallway, you're singing "Oh Happy Day."
Drums of war beat through the night. Victory, oh what a sight. Oh brave souls in the storm, raise your swords, no more to mourn. Giant hearts in battle form, legends forged and never torn.
Well, that went kind of sideways.
What happened? I was supposed to say.
You were supposed to say.
Hi, welcome. It's time for Justice Served TV, and then you were supposed to say.
I was going to say, wow, a $10 million verdict. We know there's problems. Is it going to stand? And then it would hit the open. It's been a long day. So just sing the open
very
along
long
to
day.
yourself.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We have a lot to talk about, but first.
Oh yeah. Gosh, it's been just a crazy day. First, I would then do this. Okay.
Rip and read. Cardi B, she's in the news again. Why? Because the assault victim, Imani Ellis, remember her? Demands a retrial over the pen throwing incident. Remember Cardi B threw a pen at a reporter that asked, what are you talking about? What the hell happened? I don't even care, quite frankly. But I thought it was worth reporting that there's been a motion for a retrial. If you are Imani Ellis and you got no cause, that means no verdict. Okay, that was my first and rip and read. You want to go next? You want me to do the next one?
But mine's a little longer, so go ahead and do your next one.
Well, I'm on my next one's on a theme: throwing things. Guess what?
Oh. Okay.
Today, the jury acquitted what has been called the sandwich guy in a D.C. federal jury. Now, remember, he was charged with throwing his sandwich at a federal agent, leading to very serious charges. Okay, it's actually the grand jury had rejected the main charges, but still, he had a single misdemeanor count, and he could have gone to jail for that. So there you go. And what the alleged victim said, who was a federal agent, is that the mustard just exploded all over him. Okay. No. Was it Grey Poupon or was it Golden's? I don't know. I don't know. They didn't have, there was no jury specification, especially mustard gas, when they've answered that
so
question.
This was I think the main charge was assault on a federal agent. That was, to boil it down.
Sorry about that. I kind of buried that lead.
Here's kind of a teaching moment, and maybe people will know that. I didn't know it till I, started getting into the crime stuff in law school. But a felony translates in terms of punishment. 1 year or more is the possible penalty if it's a felony. Up to a year if it's a misdemeanor. And that's where the dividing line takes place. It's been that way since common law. So there you go. Okay. Oh, one more rip and read. Donna Adelson. Speaking of somebody not happy with the results, obviously she's not happy with her conviction in the death of Dan Markel, her role as, what do you call her? Mama Donna?
I call her Ma Donna, like Ma Barco, and she's Ma Donna. Or Madonna.
She filed her appeal. Remember, the appeal time clock only begins on the day of sentencing, right? Sentencing was, I believe it was the 13th of October, so she had a few days left, but she's filed her appeal. And here are the you want to guess any of the grounds for the appeal before I get into them here?
No. Let's. Okay. I just want to get it straight between the non-guess part of my bodies.
Juror misconduct, and we'll get into why. Judicial misconduct, improper admission of evidence, a verdict contrary to law, and the weight of the evidence. That's a throwaway. That's always in there. It's kind of a catch-all, right?
Right.
So for juror misconduct, why? Because at least one of the jurors apparently used social media and had posts that they made during the course of the trial. Okay. For judicial misconduct.
But not on the trial.
No. Not like, here's what we're doing today, or you should have seen this witness. No. And then the one about judicial misconduct, because of the Judge Stephen Everett, the way he spoke to the defense team and because he allowed plaintiffs greater leeway, prosecution.
I guess she
leeway.
hasn't, she's only been a defendant once. Defense teams get spoken to that way all the time. We can take it. That's why we get paid the big money or
That's
not,
right. And sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's not, and sometimes the court, in this case, I can't think of too many times in which Stephen Everett said anything to the prosecution that would suggest favoritism toward them. I think he was more neutral to them, but I think there was a negative tone to a lot of the things he said, certainly to Miss Adelson during the course of her conduct. And then the other thing mentioned was the improper admission of evidence. This focused on, remember the planners that had Dan Markel's car and license plate? Well, they say that the planners from 2014, which is that one, that had a date from 2014, not the whole planner. That whole planner and the whole planner from 2023 should have been allowed into evidence. Now, the 2023, I'm guessing,
shouldn't have been allowed into evidence.
No, should have been. They wanted
the whole planner. Right, that's right. They had moved for the whole planner to be allowed.
They wanted both of them in. And so those are the grounds for the appeal. Let's see, loser. Juror misconduct, if you can flesh it out and prove that it had some impact on the jury deliberations or their ultimate decision, maybe. That's, in my opinion, the strongest argument, but I think they're all losers in general.
Yeah, and remember the jurors said, hey, we weren't told we couldn't be on social media. We were told we could be on social media. We just couldn't be on social media about this case. All right.
And good luck investigating that.
Right.
So.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Anyhow. We're here today.
Exciting.
We're here today. We got a verdict. We expected a verdict in the case of Zwerner versus Parker. This is Abigail Zwerner, the first grade teacher who was shot by the 6-year-old in her class. Ebony Parker was at the time the assistant principal, and she was being sued civilly because she didn't do enough, was indifferent is the key word, to what ultimately happened to this teacher. And we talked about all the background, that the school district had been sued, the school board had been sued, the former principal had been sued. They all were dismissed prior to trial. So you're left with Miss Parker. Somebody had written a note saying, it doesn't matter how much they give the plaintiff, her insurance will cover it. Well, she didn't have insurance. She has this Virginia Association of blah, 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 which is kind of a self-insurance. And what their limits are, who knows? But as you mentioned yesterday, there's certainly going to be some excess coverage above and beyond. So no, it's not coming out of Ms. Parker's pocket. My biggest concern is this jury verdict form. And for those who haven't been part of our discussions with comparative fault versus contributory negligence, Virginia, one of only 4 states plus DC that has contributory negligence as their rule, and it means if the plaintiff is found even 1% responsible for her own injuries, if that is a proximate cause, then she gets nothing. So the jury instruction very clearly described that, saying contributory negligence is the plaintiff contributing to the injuries, and is that a proximate cause? But there's nothing on the verdict form. Verdict form simply says, was the defendant negligent in the causation of the plaintiff's injuries? Yes. And then the line below said no. And then they asked for the interest, which I've done the calculations on, just assuming a couple of different levels of interest. And the jury came back with, everybody's probably heard this as we posted it and it's been out there, but shall we find it and listen? I was about to play it for myself, as I've been known to do.
As you've been known to do on this show.
I got you don't need to see this. Don't worry about it. I'll tell you all about it. Okay. This is from earlier today, after about 5 hours of deliberation. Okay. That was my rough calculation. And that weird hum, don't attempt to adjust your sets. Something with the audio coming out of the feed.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the verdict?
We, the jury, on the issues joined, find in favor of the plaintiff, Abigail Zwerner, and assess her damages at $10 million. The award interest beginning on June 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any requests from the plaintiff? Any requests from the defense?
That we schedule time for post-trial motions.
All right.
And will not be heard on the verdict today.
All right. So the court will withhold entry of a judgment order in the case. The court will further reserve all rulings and hearings on post-trial motions for a later date to be set by the parties. Anything else to take up at this time, Mr. Beniozen? Ms. Douglas?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, your term expires tomorrow, so you were still admonished by the court that because you still are in term, that you are not to talk about any of the cases that you've heard during this term, that you do not need to call. Thank you very much for your service. It is an important service to all of us, and I know it has been a difficult service, but one that is necessary for the resolution of disputes in this country that I am very proud that we get to exercise those rights. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are excused.
Please rise to the jury.
Just built up a little bit so we can see that. Come on. Thank you. There you go. A little more.
You may be seated.
All right. The plaintiff and her attorneys are excused, as is the defendant and her attorney as well. You may follow, if you so desire, my bailiff.
Weird way to end it, I thought. It was very weird.
Excuse.
You're excused. Oh, well, hold on before we get into this. They must have been, the plaintiff's attorneys must have been in the quietest row. They got to go first. It was just weird. Anyway, so
Michael Bryant, I said if I were on that jury, I would vote to give her money. Although I have to tell you, and I think 10 million is an appropriate verdict. But if you ask, I think all of everybody and viewers, would you be shot in the chest to have bullet fragments sitting in your body for $10 million? My answer would be no. No amount of money would let me agree to that. All right. So while it's a fair verdict and one that I think won't necessarily get overturned on appeal, although maybe it'll get settled to try to get the money faster so you don't go through appeals. I think that was a fair verdict. So that's my initial reaction. My second reaction was, and I want you to answer this, why does the jury get to set when the interest runs, and why did they pick June 1st, 2024? And I guess I have a third question. I have a third question. I have to do a Michael. I have to do a Michael Easter here. 3. I have to give you 3.
He likes threes, yes.
Okay, he likes threes. A term, so they jury can't talk about this case to anybody
Till
because
Friday.
they're still in term.
Hey,
That's weird.
Even weirder than that, when they released the alternates yesterday, the judge said, "Remember, you're obligated through Friday, but you don't have to come back to be in another jury pool." What?
So these jurors, right? They're not coming back to be another jury pool, yet they can't speak out.
No, they can't talk about the one they've just sat on, and now they're pissed off because they're not deliberating. But they also, in theory, could have been made available for another pool, for another trial. And it sounds to me like they do it in 2-week commitments. So if this had finished in 1 week, I'm guessing those alts could have been flipped back into another jury pool. That's cruel and unusual punishment. That's not good.
You tell them.
Anyway, I think, let me try and answer your questions if I can remember what they were. Oh, the interest. Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. So I've never seen the jury gets to arbitrarily pull a number out of their rear ends. Hey, here's the day at which interest should begin. And they picked a year and a half after the incident. You know, it happened January 6, 2023. They picked June 1st, 2024. I don't know what they pegged that on. I have no idea. And I don't know why they get to. The only thing missing is the rate of interest. Do they get to decide that? Is that, or where does that number come from? You know, statutorily.
In Jersey, it's fixed by the court rules, and whatever it comes, blah blah blah.
And certainly there are federal standards and state standards that would say, here's what our current interest rate is. So do they go back to June 1st of last year and say, here's the interest of that? I've crunched 2 numbers, at 6% and at 7%. I'm assuming it's simple interest, meaning it's not compounded, right?
Right. It's usually always simple interest, right?
Yeah. At 6%, $871,000, $232.88 in interest. 7%, $997,000, $260.27, almost another $1 million if it's at 7%. So somewhere between $800,000 and $1 million in interest. So if that whole thing stands up, I predicted yesterday, and I think you agreed in theory, They're going to try to appeal. If nothing else, I mean, there will be lots of grounds, but the defendants will appeal saying that the contributory negligence was never factored into the verdict. We don't know if the jury found her 1% responsible. If you read this verdict form, you have to assume she was found 0% responsible.
Which is what I would have found is 0%. I know there's disagreement in our chat
I
about that,
totally
but I would have
disagree,
found
and
you
I'd be
totally
shocked.
disagreed, and
I would. I'd love to talk to those 7 jurors, and if
Oh,
7
they
of those
understood.
people said we found her 0% responsible, I would say, God bless you. I can't see it. I'd be shocked, and that's why I think
I wouldn't. I think they're very smart.
all
I think they were
7,
very smart.
not a chance.
Yeah,
But
that's what juries do. They agree.
No, they
Okay, she's out.
compromise. Somebody was like, "No, she did this. No, she did that. No." Okay, so we don't give her 20 million. Okay, we're buying you off, juror number 5. We're buying you off because we get it. You don't think she was wholly without fault. So we're going to carve 5 million off the award we would have given her. We're going to carve 10 million. I mean, come on. You think 10 million is a here? Let me just calculate all of these things we've been looking at for the last week and a half. Yep, comes out to exactly 10 million. Who would have figured? No, that's a number that they were massaging, dealing, brokering until everybody could choke it down.
Well, I don't know about choking it down. I think that 5 hours, they didn't have we spent more time yesterday going back and forth on it. I just think that, her responsibility was in the classroom. They knew it was reported, and the administration, specifically the defendant sitting there, did nothing but sit there, just like she did in the trial.
Well, yes, that was my analogy because they saw that body cam footage. If you haven't seen that, check it out.
Yeah.
It's when the cops arrive after the fact, and not only do you get to see, or have to see, if you want to not watch it, the plaintiff on the ground, being treated, but they walk into the former assistant principal's office, and she's got her hoodie on, and she's sitting there. The shot's like over her shoulder a little bit. It's like it's like just another day at the office. It's weird. So to me, and I'm surprised the plaintiff didn't pound on this because he had really a lot of good things that he said, but I would have been saying, you remember that body cam footage? This way he gets away with that whole Fifth Amendment argument that he was making, which was totally improper, led to a mistrial motion, which was denied, led to the court giving the jury an instruction saying you can't hold against the defendant the fact that she didn't testify. I would have skirted
it's weird.
that. Yes, very, very weird crossover in the criminal civil matter. And I don't know if this young buck of an attorney for the plaintiff is just a genius or thought he could get away with it. I don't know. But I would have just said, ladies and gentlemen, you saw the body cam footage where she sat there at her desk as this was unfolding as if nothing was going to bother her. That's the picture of indifference. What'd you see here in court? I wouldn't go any further than that because then you might be getting a little close to she didn't testify.
Right.
But I think that, to me, that cements in my mind, this woman did nothing.
Did nothing. Right. Anyhow, thank you, IO Columbia House. I love this channel, 50K, and you talk about subscribers by New Year's Eve. Okay, let's make it happen.
Holy cow.
This is my cue for hitting subscribe, share, like, and
Yeah.
notify. I mean, we are almost at 33,000 in a little over a year. A lot of pressure, but it's up to you guys to go make it happen for a Justice Served TV. So we really appreciate that comment. We really
definitely.
do. All right, Linda looks. I like this. Linda looks stunning. Thank you. That's because I had actually my eyes were done. I had to go to a thing. I'm going to show you all for the woman up there. My eyes were done by a professional who was showing a friend client of mine today how to do makeup, and so I let her do my. Normally I don't let people touch my face, but so how was that for people talking about? It's not even Fashion Friday. It's pre-Fashion Friday on Thursday. But thank you very much. Thursday. I appreciate the compliment. And they've already been given out because I've seen people thanking us, thanking people. Bayra 86 gifted 5 Justice Served TV memberships, and they've already been given out. Right, already been given out.
Those we're working on the ones we get to give out.
Excuse me.
We apparently been stockpiling them, so we're gonna give those out.
Yeah, okay. And then there's a question here, Michael. You should probably answer this as I cough here, and I keep.
I'm not sure.
It keeps happening.
The short answer is
Excuse me.
Yes. I'm not so sure about that date. I believe it's not till December. Certainly we'll double check on that, but I believe it's December, and. Yeah, I think now that we know the basics, and this is really good for those true crime geeks or law geeks in general, to see how the civil and the criminal compare so close in time to one another. It's going to be fascinating. We'll hear
Yeah.
obviously the same witnesses, but we're talking about 8 counts of child neglect. I've been told that relates to each bullet in the gun. And again, I haven't confirmed that, but I don't disagree with it. Just haven't confirmed it, because each one of those would be a potential threat to a child. So child neglect times 8, 1 to 5 years for each. And I don't know. We'll see. I don't think the civil case has any impact on that. So if it's going to go away, it'll be for totally different reasons.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, what is thank you so much. I really
Stunning.
appreciate
You
it.
got your money's
Sometimes-
worth on those eyes.
Yeah, I didn't pay for them. They were just like, let me
Perfect.
use your eyes, because they have like the saucers as eyelids. So yeah, that's me.
They had to get extra makeup because they're so wide. You're wide-eyed.
Showing it, yeah, so wide-eyed, because I'm wide-eyed because I was coming to do Justice Serve TV, and I have to keep up with you. All right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I see everyone's thanking people for the memberships, and
Oh, good.
again, we really appreciate the gift of those, because they go to other people, and it's hard, $2.99 a month, but you'll be involved in the book club, which you should mention, and the hunt. We were supposed to get a new episode of the hunt for Who Killed Stephanie Vilko tomorrow, but I have a guest lined up, and he really can't do it tomorrow. So we're probably going to put it up either the next Friday or the following week when he can. So
And
we'll see about that.
While we're promoting that, we're going to do this on Wednesday. I was trying to decide, record live. I think we may just go all out and just try to do it live Wednesday, midday East Coast time, like noon, maybe 1, maybe 2. We'll have that notice out there, but we're going to get into chapter 1 of this book, which of course is You Might Go to Prison Even If You're Innocent. If you haven't seen this, the members only perk. If you haven't seen the interview done with the author, Justin Brooks, it is out there. And the first chapter is You Hired the Wrong Lawyer. This is really kind of a cautionary tale in this book. Watch out. It could happen to anybody. And some of the stories in here are ridiculous. So, and if you want to kind of make sure you don't go down this path, check out this book. Hey, I saw something flash by there so quickly I could hardly read it, about me.
It was about you, actually.
It's like, oh, gone.
It said,
Okay.
Michael, you look stunning tonight. Also,
Thank you.
Okay, you look stunning tonight. Also, here we go. Here it is.
There
You
it
want
is.
it back
Thank
again?
you.
Cursey, nursey.
I feel like after somebody gushes over you, they're like, "Oh, we better say something about Michael, because we know he's got complex." Okay, so let's look at what happened after the happy winners came out. Again,
happy, but remember, she has fragments, just like Kelsey Fitzsimmons has fragments
There's no
in her
doubt about
chest. Okay,
but they're still happy.
Yeah.
They're happy.
Well, they're happy. I'd be happy I didn't lose too, because I've already lost by getting shot. But I'd be happy I didn't lose a civil case.
Yes.
Go ahead, Donna.
So we would just like to share that this has been a good week for Abby to get to finally speak for the first time and be heard. So we're very happy with the fact that Abby's story got to be told. I remember just 3 years ago, almost to this date, hearing for the first time Abby's story and thinking that this could have been prevented. So now to hear from a jury of her peers that they agree that this tragedy could have been prevented. So we're very happy with the outcome for today, and we're happy that Abby's story got to be told.
What's the next step legally for the case? Are there post-trial motions scheduled? And then, of course, an appeal would be expected.
Yes, we'll be coming back for post-trial motions. We'll set that date sometime soon.
Teachers across the nation have been watching this trial unfold. What kind of message do you think this sends to them?
Well, I think it says that what happened at Rich Neck Elementary School that day was wrong and is not going to be tolerated. That safety has to be the first concern at schools. I think it's a great message.
What do you make about the larger deal here where somebody's being found liable that was not involved in the actual shooting itself here?
Yeah, ultimately, I think we have to acknowledge that there are multiple, closer to the mic. I think we have to acknowledge within our civil justice system that accountability comes from anyone who contributed to the ultimate outcome. And some of these things are foreseeable, and if we can take the appropriate measures to prevent them, then we can save lives, and we can save lives from being harmed detrimentally forever. And so ultimately, it's for the jury to decide what's right. They decided what's right, and we're grateful for their time and their attention these last 2 weeks.
Is there any clarity on payment of the judgment? I know there was some questions surrounding this Virginia Risk Sharing Association, potentially terms impacted by any guilty finding in the criminal case set for trial November 17th. Is there any clarity at this point as to who will pay?
I think did he say December 17th?
Yeah,
For the criminal
yeah.
trial?
Although somebody just checked, and I just started the comments so I could find it again. Look, Mike, I'm working tech. Okay.
Wow. I'm back in the set so we can hear it
Okay.
again. And they were asking
Bayrow
about
86 news article says trial starts November 17th
Okay.
and should last 3 days. So
Yeah,
thank
so-
you for that donation to get mentioned. And so that's it could have been November, but that's what the news article says. So thank you for that. We really appreciate that. And before you comment, let me just go through some of these because there's a lot of things going on. Janet Misdemeanor is in our chat. 18 years old. I had to sit on a criminal jury. I assume it's jury, Janet. I know I have the worst fingers in the world when I type. And civil jury because I remained in the pool. And oh, wow. And yeah, somebody else said the criminal trial. That's Bayra. You're the same person who then donated to get your attention here. Oh my gosh, should I just let me just give this member for 7 months, Donnie Not Wahlberg. Yes, Donnie is great and just one of our biggest supporters, and now is one of your biggest supporters. Donnie Not Wahlberg just gifted one more Justice Serve TV membership. And before you go on, Michael Bryant, because I know you're very, very touchy tonight about the compliments to your streaming partner, Michael, you have such a soothing voice. That would be just so great for an audible reading. And Missy says that Michael is always a handsome gentleman. I know our show does stray a little bit with regard to different
showcasing
things.
my dulcet tones as we read some of this book.
And before we forget, just before we go back into this, because we're going to have a discussion again on the policy issue of this. Michael Bryan, are you going to be in Dedham on December 5th?
Yep,
Man of the truth.
Definitely. Yep. We'll be up there. And here's the new wrinkle though, because we now have not just the press pass, but as I was the pool camera for web purposes in Salem, I'm going to be requesting to be pool camera for web purposes in Dedham. So I can't wait to see how that goes. We'll see.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I know. So let's get back to this. This is a very important policy issue. You and I had it. I think, and I said yesterday, I think that I would have given her. As a matter of fact, I think last week when Thursday when CNN started covering it, I texted you, and I thought that she was going to win. I mean, I just thought that she was going to win because no teacher deserves to be shot in school, especially there had been the report by, and Amy had said with the 2 kids that reported that the kid said, bullet, shoot, and that has to equal bullet and shoot is gun. And that he reported to this kid is 6 years old, knows how to use a handgun, right? Knows how to, whatever, a bullet, whatever. I don't even know if he loaded or not. We don't know that.
Somebody said that his mom showed him how to pull the trigger of the gun because she had been assaulted in the past, I think, or had a boyfriend or an ex that was violent. So
6 years old. I mean, 6 years old.
I don't think anybody's disputing
jumping jacks.
I don't think anybody's disputing that the victim, this teacher, deserved what happened. All I've been talking about it in the context of the law. I'm not getting emotionally spun out and avoiding the law. The law in Virginia is very clear. And we don't know if the jury followed the law or not because the verdict form was screwed up.
Yeah, but they that's up for the defense counsel to make the appropriate objections and were rejected or not. And maybe that's how they do it. We've heard a lot of things of how they do it in Massachusetts and in the Johnny Depp trial in Virginia, which was a civil trial, right? So maybe that's the way they do it, and people just are just perfect. Okay.
Anyway, and they mentioned as the lead up to this next question, as they were trying to scream over the motorcycle and trucks passing by, this Virginia Risk Sharing Association, which is their version of the insurance for public entities and teachers organizations. So let's see if first I want to hear that date again, but now I'm confirmed with all of our audience members, they know it's the 17th, which is, believe it or not, what is that, a week from Monday? Is that
I
right?
can't believe it. I can't even believe. I can't believe we're approaching the holidays.
I know.
I am too busy to be ready for the holidays.
Yeah, you're gonna have to skip them this year.
Yeah,
So,
maybe.
Let's listen
Maybe.
here. Let's see if we can pick up that date on their end and that reference to this Virginia Risk Association.
By any guilty finding in the criminal case set for trial November 17th.
Yes.
Is there any clarity at this point as to who will pay the judgment?
Who will pay? That's ultimately
Who
the
will
question
pay?
that he's
Right.
belted out.
Right.
Let me say this, that there are post-trial motions, obviously, that are still pending. There is an insurance policy that's covered for the school board, and the defendant, Parker, is a named insured. You know, the teachers, and the one comment that I wanted to make about the teachers in America, because I think it's important to say, the comments that we received in my office, Diane's office, and Kevin's overwhelmingly were teachers concerned about their safety in schools. And if this doesn't send a message to the schools of America that teacher safety and children's safety from weapons is too important to make it a second thought. It needs to be the most important thing that schools do, taking care of the teachers and safety of our students. And if that means metal detectors, if that means something else, we can't let these kinds of school shootings, whether it's an individual case like this or the mass shootings that have destroyed America. School safety, teacher safety, children's safety is the most important thing. This verdict reminds people that you will be held accountable if you don't make that your first concern. So we're pleased with the jury understanding that.
How is Abby feeling about the size of the verdict?
Abby's pleased with the verdict, and we obviously need to make sure that when we address it post-trial motions, we'll see what the judge does and doesn't do. So we'd rather not talk about the amount. It's not important today, as in fact the justice part of this is. The money obviously means that this jury knew it was a serious injury to her.
How is she feeling about the verdict itself? The fact that it's not the money, but the fact that they said
She's smiling, her mother's smiling, and her sister's crying. I think that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, Abby's been waiting for a long time to be able to share her story. And so this is a good thing. It's been great that she's been able to share her story and have that closure.
Last one for you, Mr. Bryant. I think you might know this. Is there any other previous gavel-to-gavel trial broadcast in the region's history, Hampton Roads, or what have you?
You say that because I have gray hair. I do not believe that there has been a court TV or gavel to gavel. There has been plenty of TV coverages on some very significant criminal cases, but this would be the very first civil case that's been televised that I know of in our region.
You finished one historic case and you guys are about to go into another one. Do you guys feel prepared for the next one?
Kevin Biniazin's always prepared. I'm going to go surfing.
Definitely be prepared.
Any other questions?
All right.
We'll be back again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, okay then. So interesting. I thought that the kid, I'll call him the kid, who really was carrying the load, and I mean not just in closing, but in arguing motions, in all of this Kevin Beniazin.
He was terrific. I thought.
He
I
was.
think he was very
He's a
terrific.
star, and his showcase on Court TV and anybody else that picked it up like we did is going to do him well in the future. Maybe try to be a partner. But anyway, I thought it was interesting. Whoever asked that last question was a little confused, I think, because they're equating the November 17th criminal trial to something the plaintiff's attorneys will have any role in. And they're not prosecutors. They may have they may be reached out to for something they can use. The DA's office may need something from them, evidentiary materials, but they're not trying the case. But I think that question was a little kind of confusing.
Okay, so while we deal with this technical issue right here, Michael, let me just say, I want to go back with our chat, and it's a very important thing. I do think it's a very important case. I do think that a teacher, yes, maybe a teacher has responsibility, but here I think the responsibility had to be handed off to the administration. They're the ones who have to do something. That's why they're paid the money. They're paid the money to take that backpack. They're paid the money to check the locker, which they don't check. They're paid the money to know the law. There was a procedure. They could have taken the kid out themselves. I mean, bring bring them out and put them into the principal's office. Anything, call the police, let the police search. There's a lot of things. But let me ask you one other thing. Okay. And I'm going to ask it to all of you because I do still think it may be, shall we say, and I've said it before, the elephant in the room. Do you think race had anything to do with this in terms of the money? Here you have a beautiful young first grade teacher who happens to be white, very fair haired. And then you have a black defendant. And is there an issue of race here in terms of how the jury looked at it? And I don't mean purposely, I mean unconscious bias. Okay. And I'm going to place that to everybody because I think on this show, we talk about the hard questions and I want to know how you're feeling about that.
And I think you can look at it too in the context of, okay, this is the civil case and it's done, criminal case coming up. Does it matter if there is an R component? Does it matter? Is it worse in the criminal case than in the civil case? I don't know. I really hadn't thought about it in that context. I was thinking about it in the school setting. But yeah, there's certainly, and we talked about it yesterday too, I think there certainly could be people that think, this administrator was given that job because she's black and doesn't care about the teacher because the teacher's white. You can create that narrative. I just don't know if any jurors took that into the
I don't want to create the narrative, but I can't avoid what I see on the stand in the courtroom. And so, it just,
so what did
it's
see
an issue.
Other than
I don't know. I think it was very,
facts, what did you see that would suggest to you?
well, it's very easy to say because we're talking about how she sat on her hands, she didn't do anything, and that would go into like a whole racial, gentrification, so to speak. About,
oh, you mean because only black people can be lazy? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I wasn't going to quite use that word, but I'm wondering about that. I don't know whether or not who the jurors were and all, but I will guarantee you that the jury, if they were jury consultants, that the lawyers and the jury consultants had that very same discussion. I guarantee you. Now, it may be different in a criminal case, okay? But I just want to bring it to everyone's attention. I think this was the right and just verdict. I don't care if the roles were reversed. I don't care if somebody was green and purple, all right? I think it's the right and just verdict. But, you do have to think that maybe there is something that's an unconscious issue that also is in this case. All right.
Well, and you would like to hope that during the voir dire process, they did their best on both sides to ferret that out and excuse juror number 25. And that's it. We did not see the jury selection process.
Right.
So hard to
so
tell.
anyhow, I do think
questionnaires were. We don't know what the follow-up questions were.
Right. And we don't know. We're just throwing it out there because, we have this whole thing about unconscious bias. And, there's the whole thing when we take these courses, when you're training people, you step into an elevator. Okay. And there is 3 people of a different race in the elevator who are big and tall and men. Do you feel scared because you're with them? Or they should feel scared because they're with you. Maybe, quite frankly, maybe, but I just throw that out there. So on a good point and a less serious point, or maybe more serious point, Deborah and Anderson, let's get to 40,000 by Thanksgiving. So please subscribe to this channel. Thank you. We've got great cheerleaders here tonight. Thank you. Yes, because we try to ask the hard questions, bring you the hard guests and all, and we don't shy away from it. And if we're going to get criticized for it, we get criticized for it. But I think that these are questions that have to be answered.
And it's interesting getting to the YouTube overlords.
Right.
The way the subscription rate varies is just so suspect. I have no idea what's going into it. Yes. Oh, the algorithm, whatever the hell that means. We've heard all the tricks about here. You do this and then you do that. And maybe you do a little this and you do some shorts and I don't think anybody knows what the hell they're talking about. And so we'll see such drastic changes from a handful of new subscribers a day to a couple of hundred new subscribers a day. Sometimes there's a direct correlation. You have Alan Jackson on, you're probably going to pick up a few subs, right? Sometimes it makes no sense. We'll have some weekend programming that we do, and we'll get a glob of new subscribers. So I don't know. We're just. I used to say, Sonny, back in the day, I would do whatever I'm doing, whether I have one person watching or 10 million. I've never had 10 million watching. I've had 3 or 4 million back in the extra days. still doing the same thing. I'm not changing it. I'm not pandering. Just doing the same thing, and that way I don't worry as much about those numbers. So
we'll see.
Just
I
me.
know. But who knows? But if you comment even after the show, we understand comments and all, and chat also help. But are you all happy with this verdict? I am. I like this verdict a lot.
I think the number is right. I just think the process was wrong. So that's not her fault though. So that part is not her fault. Okay.
Yeah, no,
What
but
do you got
thank you
there?
very much. Not more subs. Yeah, we do actually only 8% of the channels in 1 year make it to about 30,000 subs. So
Is that what it
in
is?
that, but that point,
what it is?
yeah, that point, yeah, it's very good. By the way, people said AJ was a great guest. Alan Jackson,
course.
that episode is right up there. If you haven't seen it, please go see it. Along with the Mike Easter episode, he is so great.
I just
Okay.
noticed. I'm not like a savant. I don't know some of these handles, by heart. But the Brooklyn that was just up there, I believe, is featured in our comments show, which you may happen to see tomorrow night. So.
Oh yeah, tomorrow night,
Yeah.
6:00. We're posting. I don't know if we're premiere. We're just posting it. I think, right? Our
Yeah, we'll
comment
post
show.
it.
We're going to post our comment show, and you may be in there if you made a comment, good, bad, or ugly.
Ugly, yep.
Yeah, well, good, bad, or ugly. You may be in there, and we get to make the fun thing about the comment show is we get to comment back to your comments.
It's kind of one-sided at that point. You get to throw it out there, and then we get to listen to it, manhandle it, respond. Yeah. Great verdict.
Yeah, I see a lot of questions coming, including one that I don't know the answer to. Okay, Stephen, I don't really like chatting, but I'm watching. Okay, you watch.
okay.
We're happy that you can watch because sometimes you don't, you can't.
I gotta
feel like
know
chatting.
it. I gotta know it.
It's I gotta know it. Oh, this is an interesting question. Is Linda TB's Turtle Boy's new attorney? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Karma and Gaga, new member. Okay, Karma and Gaga, new member. All right. So this is an interesting answer to my question. Micah, thank you for coming. Micah is actually has one of our first mugs, right, Micah? A few minutes behind, but race inherent bias is almost always a factor. And that's what they're finding because, we come from our different backgrounds, but it may be there or maybe it's recognized. If you recognize it, don't act on it, that's fine. But I just,
I think it's more
there.
people not knowing it. It's because to them, it's just them being them.
Right.
They're not overt, they're not in your face, but it's in there.
Yeah.
And it always factors into anything they do or say and decisions they make.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been in the jury room for these deliberations because it probably like buying a car in there. There's a lot of wheeling and dealing, arguments of one way or the other. That number was probably, that number was like
sounded pretty. I think they all agree. But let me turn this to another issue. The children that were in the school that day. Okay, what about them in terms of having an action? All right. And I throw that out. I don't think anything has been filed. And I'm not really up on all the circumstances surrounding her shooting. But it seems to me that if you watch or even know your teacher has been shot by a gun and you're a student and the administration failed to take action and is liable for the shooting of the teacher, doesn't then any students who may have a harm as a result of either watching or not just watching, but knowing about, given intentional infliction of emotional distress,
I don't think
have an action.
I don't think there's any intentional infliction of emotional distress. I don't think that's going anywhere. But I could see negligent infliction of emotional distress. It's just going to be an offshoot of the negligence found against Ms. Parker. And these kids were all there. You don't have a contemporaneous observation challenge, right? Because they're all there. Contrast that with what we just have seen begin to unfold in the Karen Reed civil trial, where they've dismissed at least part of the case relating to the emotional distress claims. Why?
Right.
Because they weren't contemporaneous. They didn't even in Massachusetts, where it's pretty loose. You can learn about something or go to the hospital after the fact. Well, these kids were in the room.
Right. So it's
an interesting. I wouldn't be surprised to see something arise. Although we've got statute of limitations issues.
No, not the kids. They're not going to be
told till they're 18.
Yeah, till they're 18 plus 2. I think, if they start manifesting symptoms, which may be what the parents want to see, you could end up seeing this,
I
right?
would
Especially since it's
imagine-
already a decision of liability.
Yeah, that's a slam dunk. So the question then just becomes, can you extend it to these kids? I would imagine that there are kids in that class that have been getting counseling, right?
Yeah.
Some of
Yeah.
it offered by the school, maybe some of it the parents themselves have initiated. But I'd be shocked if there weren't kids that were going through that. Remember this area, Newport News?
Mhm.
It's not, you're not in a rural outlying, backwoods area.
Navy base, right?
It's a pretty hot area. I mean, pretty sophisticated. I haven't checked the latest average income, but they're not doing badly in Newport News.
Well, let me give you another piece of trivia that you may not know. One of the wrongful convictions that overturned the bite mark identification came out of Newport News. Is one of the earliest ones that Chris had on, that we had him on from the Innocence Project. And it came out of Newport News, where somebody was wrongfully convicted for years, and the state went back down, and finally, the bad science of bite mark came to the forefront. The judge agreed, and indeed the prosecution agreed, and indeed he was left out. So you can Google it, just put in Newport News wrongful conviction, and you're going to find that case. So very interesting. Someone wants to point out to me, Linda, football player Antonio Brown, who I used to love as a football player. He's a really good football player, is being extradited to New Jersey from Dubai on attempted murder charges. Go get him. Well, he's got to come to me. Okay. I mean, I'll go take a look and see. I don't know the specifics of it, but I'll take a look at it if he comes to me. He's got to make the call to me, but very interesting. But you know what? It brings into a discussion again the whole issue of head trauma, right? Head trauma, and whether or not in football players it causes activities or actions that the normal person would not do. And we've discussed that on another show here. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. And maybe Antonio Brown will call Dubai, extradited to Dubai. Oof. From Dubai. Wow. They like, goodbye, so long, farewell. We get rid of your scummy murderers who are sending them back to the United States.
I didn't know that Dubai had extradition. Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know either, but maybe he didn't know that either.
Well,
I mean, he really should have
story.
hired Donna Adelson,
Donna
right?
Adelson
She Dubai?
was on her way to Vietnam via Dubai.
I think they can decide whether they will extradite. Okay. I think it's in a decision that they can make.
A right that you would have as a U.S. entity to get them.
They treaty, but
if they agree to ship them out, they will.
They will.
Which to
and
me
I think
makes
that's
perfect sense.
Yeah, I agree. And so anyhow, so we have this case. It's going to come back pretty soon with motions. There'll be a motion to overturn the verdict. There'll be a motion to set aside the verdict. There'll be a motion to reduce the award, right?
Yep.
There is the award, all sorts of motions. And, that's why the judge did not enter an entry of judgment, because he's going to be ruling on all of those motions that you've seen them all. We've all seen them, right?
Yeah, they're on pro forma,
right.
and then it will start the clock on a number of items. And we have talked about the negotiation that will take place. Waive my right to appeal, blah, blah, blah. You think it'll be in the 7 to 8 range ultimately? Is that your guess?
Yeah, I think ultimately they'd settle for like 7.5, 7, 8 range and get rid of it, because now the interest is building up. So you already have now $10, $11 million,
roughly
another million, right?
In interest. So let's say that's 11. That means you're now at 11. So 7 would be 35% off, give or take 65% of the original. That's, I think you're in the ballpark.
Yeah, in the ballpark. I mean, they got to pay. I don't know what the attorney's fees are in Virginia for trying a case. Some states it's 40%.
In California, the way we did it in California was basically a third prior to trial, then it went up to 40% at trial.
Yeah, so every state's different.
Plus expert expenses. They had to come off the top, and we had experts in this case. So even though they were maligned by each side, they still cost a few $1,000s. So
right. So
that's been paid for out of the judgment before the attorneys get their dough.
We have a book club, and we talk about this book we have, and we may do Jody and Weber, but we also have had Chris Fabricant on who has a book on, phony science, faulty science. And maybe that should be one of our books one of these days. Also, it's an excellent, excellent book. I think I interviewed him at our previous network when it came out, but he's still on book tour all the time. He's still doing books and book tours and all sorts of stuff with regard to faulty forensic science.
I'll put it on the list.
Put it on the list. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Tomorrow,
class early.
Tomorrow we have again our comment show. You may be in them if you want to be showcased. You may find you are, and then we're showcased after
Cover a lot of
6
stuff.
o'clock. And then I think about noon on Saturday and noon on Sunday, we'll have a little tea, maybe a little snack with a little tea, or maybe we won't have any tea at all, because I think on Saturday we're going to be interviewing Tracy Paulson, who's going to talk about what's in your water. And oh my God, things that you would not know about. She is a fabulous attorney from Massachusetts. She happens to be the wife also of Michael Del Signore, a friend of this channel. And she is heavy duty in litigation and things that'll hurt you, including PFAS.
And if you saw Mark Ruffalo in Dark Water, great film, but it's one of those along the lines of Silkwood, Aaron Brockovich, and there's kind of a new, I don't know, water contaminant that that you should know about, and she is deep into, and we get into that. So
yeah, and then Sunday we also have everything you wanted to know about Proctor. Not so everything you wanted about his telephone, but we're going to talk upon the whole GPS scandal and how ironic kill switches.
Yeah, we kind of that's been out there for a bit, but we hadn't really had a chance to dive into it. So we do that for a little snack over the weekend. So
yeah, with or without steak.
Let's see if I can figure out how to get us out of here. I kind of stumbled in the door.
Thank you all for being with us. I'll see you tomorrow night at 6.
This is Just to Serve TV. Please try to do the right.
Riding flames, they charge with mine.